Is South Africa a criminal's paradise? Well, if the quarterly crime stats are anything to go by, it seems so. The shocking figures were released today. Let me elaborate. Now, compared to the previous quarter, murders are up by more than 20%. As for rape, well, nearly 10,000 cases have been reported. And in terms of assault, nearly 80,000 cases have been reported, all in just 3 months. Police Minister Bheki Cele joins us to discuss these very worrying figures. Minister, thanks so much for your time. We do appreciate it. I'm sure you've had a busy day. So in just 3 months, 6,163 people have been murdered, 897 were women, 287 were children, and then to top it off, almost 10,000 people reported rapes in South Africa in just 3 months, right? What's happening in our country?
Not just only that, quite big number of them were children. That's the number we haven't added, Shahan, that not just people are killed, women are killed, children are killed. It's a question that all of us will need to really answer what's happening, why South Africa is so violent and South Africans are so violent, including the people that are supposed to be protected by the very people that live with them. Besides this matter, when you look at the trend, you find that people that have been raped, the bigger number will be raped either in the place of the perpetrator or the victim, and most likely those people would know one another. So it's a question that you just don't know how to begin to police it when people they are raped and murdered at the place where they're supposed to be saved by the people that they're supposed to protect. Indeed, is a violent country that all of us will have to put shoulder on the wheel to reverse the situation.
You've called this deeply disturbing and a disgrace, Minister, but why is our crime rate increasing over the past couple of months and years under your watch?
Well, I don't know if it is under my watch. What is painful is that this situation can be arrested, can be reversed, and we have shown before. If you can go back to your crime statistics, there are years that have been really a paradise. Your 2019, your 2009, 2010, 2010, 2011, 2012. It took up again. What I would explain here is not the excuse for the law enforcement agencies, especially the police. Crime situation, it's a responsibility for everybody. As I started with the families, where people are raped in the house of the family, in the house of the husband, the house of the uncle, the house of the father. But besides that, the across the board of governments, the government must be part of dealing with those matters. One thing that we forever raise, Shahan, is what you term environmental design, where people they go where there are no lights, where there are no streets, where there are no houses, house numbers, where people they can't go in toilets in the middle of the night because they are far, they're outside, they will be raped. So it's a combination of things that South Africa will have to work on as a government, generic, not necessarily that you'll expect. Yes, there are things that should be done by the police and the cluster, your prosecution, your correctional service, but everybody will have to put a shoulder on it.
Yeah, no, definitely, absolutely right. It is up to all South Africans to actually report criminals, etc. But you are the minister in charge of the police force, a police force that obviously takes a large chunk of the budget, but still doesn't have enough personnel, it seems, to fight crime properly and adequately in this country.
No, we don't take the big chunk of the budget. We would love. It would be nice. For your information, since 2016, coming now, the police budget has been cut by 36 billion. So that is not a big chunk. But that does not mean that we shouldn't do our work. We do a lot of work. That's why the correctional service, the prisoners are overpopulated, if I'm not mistaken, about 25% as we speak. That's why there are more than 5,500 people that are doing a life in prisons only for gender-based violence, arrested by the police, sent to the judges, and magistrates send them to permanent incarceration. There are things, but it looks like that does not deter South Africans. That does not tell South Africans that what we're doing is wrong and they stop it. Therefore, you ask the question, why South Africans are doing this? I think sociologists and all other psychologists, all those people will have to put the shoulder on the wheel and work together with all of us to revert that situation, because South Africa is almost a prison as a whole now. You are so much having people full of prisons to such an extent that there is no place to keep them there. Again, now and again you find people paroled and all that, and they come back and do the things again. So there is that vicious circle where police will have to really run and make sure that nonetheless they continue to do their work.
Yeah, I mean, overcrowded prisons really doesn't mean anything when it comes to crime fighting, right? Especially because that's your job. You have to do it. You have to put a criminal behind bars regardless of whether there's space or not. That's something that the Correctional Services Department has to handle. Just tell me whether you think that police are overwhelmed at all, because we're seeing these numbers increase.
Well, I would agree. I work with police very closely. Sometimes you guys will ask why I'm operational. I go with them there. The situation for the police, they do a lot of good job, but a lot of good things should be done to support the police. I must say that the new Minister of Finance is quite sympathetic to the cause of policing. Maybe that's why he has announced a little bit of addition on finances. One big thing about policing are figures, the boots on the ground. In the year 2010, we had 194,000 police in the Republic of South Africa with a population of 50 million. Now we have 183 with a population of 60 million. Indeed, the ratio of one police to the South African citizen has been reduced. But 2 years ago, including this one, we did not train new police, and were 14 personnel down because of the non-trainment of the COVID-19. All those things put together, they make the shortage. Once there is a shortage, there are not enough people in police stations. Some police stations, for your information, in the far-flung rural areas, they get closed at night. Is when people, they need police, but they'll get closed because there is no personnel. Though we're working on it to train them again, but there are those situations.
Yeah, in fact, there are actually more private security personnel in this country than there are police officers. And that speaks volumes, doesn't it? Minister, is it time to change strategy? Because you yourself admit that criminals are not deterred by police when they actually commit these crimes, or the justice system, clearly, because the murders continue, the rapes continue.
Well, it's not only the police, really, that will have to change. As I've put things like environmental design, about the psychology of the nation, things like the wealth gap, things like the economic opportunities, people not working, all those things contribute. So it cannot be that is the police alone. Yes, they must do their work, arrest people that break the law, investigate, send those people to judges, they send them to prison. But is across the board change that will have to take place so that we are able to get a stable and a stabilized South Africa, which will lead to the better behaving of South Africans.
Yeah, but let's focus on your police force. Are police officers adequately trained to deal with kidnappings and rape, for instance? Because we're still seeing increases in that regard. I'll get to the kidnappings in a moment, but let's talk about whether our police officers are adequately trained to handle these situations and how it could improve if we actually see them better equipped to deal with rape, for instance, because we've been talking about gender-based violence and how police handle these matters for years. Yet every time we hear from you, you're talking about gender-based violence increasing.
Well, police are trained for different environments. There are categories of units within the South African police. You will have of the Special Task Force. I usually call them human machines. Your NIU, those is for intervention. Your TRT for dealing with the medium and high risk. But coming to the gender-based violence issue, we have the unit that is dealing with the family crime. It's called the FCS. And we are busy. We have trained already about 312 people that are going to be specializing at the stations with the people that have been violated so that they don't get a second violation. When they go to police station, they are better treated. But you are asking the question, are they trained? For the fact that 5,500 of the people are doing life sentence, sent by the unit called FCS, which means they're doing a proper investigation and proper arrest, which means those people are trained to get those outcomes and those results. Enough? No. There will have to be more people trained and more people coming to the system as for South Africans to be able to fight this gender-based violence and femicide.
But what's 312 people going to do? What difference are they going to make in a country with a population of 60 million, as you say? And how many police stations do we have? How do they spread out to make sure that people who are coming forward to report rape are actually adequately and properly processed?
It's a new unit. We started training them only last year. We've got 1,153 police stations in the country. Indeed, they are inadequate, but they are the first batch that has been trained. We are training more of those, especially trying to train the female officers who would be more sympathetic and more understanding when it comes to the issues of the GBV, because you can imagine when a woman has been abused or raped by a man, that you have to graphically go and tell the man how you were raped. So we're trying to, not necessarily that they won't be men, but we're trying to put more women in that unit. It's a new unit, 312 have been trained, and we're continuing training.
You know, Minister, I'm itching when you say that, 312 people, it is inadequate. Like for me, if I was sitting there, I would be like, come on, guys. This is not enough people to actually fight crime in this country, and we can see that the numbers are ever increasing. I would be shouting and screaming at National Treasury for more money to try and get more skilled people to address the issue of crime in this country. I know you're not relaxed about fighting crime, obviously, but, what more can you do? How much louder can you shout for more money and resources to actually get this right?
There are times when we are called to do more than the less that you have. That's the situation. We hope, as I've said, that fortunately at the present moment, we've got a very sympathetic minister, but it's not the minister that does the budget. It's a cabinet that does the budget. But in any bad situation, there is something good that comes up. The July situation did tell the cabinet and more people in South Africa to say, don't keep cutting to the bone the security cluster, because you might find that the overwhelm and overrun at a certain given point. I think there is a turnaround in that thinking to say, indeed, while we do with other things, especially the social budgeting, like your school, like your health, like your social grant, please don't interfere, don't come close to the social cluster. There is that new thinking, there is that new dawn thinking that we hope will take us further.
Yeah, maybe all the money that the Hawks recovers through the corruption can actually be put back into the police force, and you'll be able to get some cash. Let's talk about kidnappings, because it's very worrying, right? 2,000 reported between July and September. We've seen so many attempted kidnappings, one today, especially in Johannesburg. A pupil was apparently almost abducted. She screamed, got out of it. And we're seeing so many other kidnappings in the country. In Mayfair yesterday alone, right? What's happening? Why is it so easy for this to happen? Are there syndicates? What are you doing about this situation?
Well, let's explain the kidnapping in the language of police. Maybe hence the number is that high, 2,000. For instance, if they hijack you in your car to drop you somewhere and maybe later shoot and kill you, that's a kidnapping. To be taken wherever you go against your will is kidnapping. You go in the place of entertainment, maybe the boy takes the girl by force and all, is kidnapping. But there is this standard that you talk about of ransom, which is only less rather than the explained kidnapping that I've spoken about. This one at the present moment is 56. The other one is 400. What is happening? That will be for ransom and extortion of some money for that person to come to be brought back home.
Yeah.
But it's got a big international portion. It's got a big international syndicate that is running. That's why we work very closely with the neighboring countries on those matters. But indeed, it's worrying and is increasing.
So crime intelligence obviously needs to come in here. What's happening in that regard in terms of trying to make sure that you crack down on these syndicates, especially since they're international?
Well, crime intelligence is form a part of there is a task team that is dealing with with the kidnapping. The pure standard kidnapping for the ransom and the extortion. We have been having successes on it. There was one lady that was kidnapped from KZN, kept many days in Mpumalanga. We managed to get those guys arrested, and we have been following on that. Indeed, very complicated, very sophisticated, and the team that we work with is one team that works with international law enforcement agencies. We do work with the Interpol a lot on that. We do work with the FBI on that and other agencies. Because, as I've said, it's got the international favor where the people coming from other places. I would not mention the countries at the present moment because there are many countries that have these syndicates of kidnapping. It helps for South Africa to work with these other agencies, and we do have some successes. Some they take long, some there are failures on them, but we're improving on that situation.
All right, one last question to you, Minister, and if you can possibly answer this in both as your capacity as Minister and also a citizen of this country. Should we be afraid living in South Africa?
Well, I don't want to sound like I'm putting some excuses. There is one thing that many of us would not know. South Africa voluntarily decided to come with the crime states. There are many countries that are dangerous and violent that they don't have states, especially South America, Latin America countries where you would know, maybe mentioning one country like your Mexico, but those countries don't go for stats. So it's very difficult then to compare what is happening. But coming back to South Africa, indeed, it's worrying, and South Africans must work hard, and we need to put South Africa at ease by working harder. But the question to be answered, yes, South Africans, they have a cause to be worried when so many people are raped, when so many people are killed in such a possible time, in such short time.